Hey, it's Paul. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through how we handle making a financial proposal, or for the want of a better word, the offer stage. So when we've built enough rapport and relationship with the seller, we've reviewed the financials, we've analysed the structure, and we've come up with a deal that we're ready to present to the seller. There are fundamentally two components to this. One is obviously the financial components of the deal. So the purchase price, the structure, the funding. The second is the buyer. Now, believe me when I say this, that the seller is selling, um, uh, they're more interested in who they're selling to. Uh, I'm not saying that the financial components aren't important, but certainly they want to know who they're selling to, what the buyer's going to do with their business. And this is why when we present a sort of offer proposal, if you like, we really do focus on who we are as a buyer. So we're talking about who we are, what we've done before, our track record, as well as what our plans are with the business. And that's, as I say, very, very important. So done well. The presentation takes maybe about 30 minutes. And we do use slides, so it can be shared on the screen if we're doing it virtually, or if we're doing it in person, we can obviously put it up on a monitor. And afterwards, of course, these slides can be emailed to the seller. So we start out by setting out the agenda, and then we'll dive into who we are as the buyer. So we'll talk about who we are, our track record, our expertise. We'll introduce a case study at this stage. So we've got various video testimonials that we've recorded over the years with business owners that have sold to us, that obviously say positive things. And we include links to those in the presentation. So we might play one at the offer meeting, but they can review maybe 3 or 4 of these videos in their own time when we send the slides through. If we have specific industry experience in their sector, then we'll use that as a case study, or at the very least highlight what we've done before in their sector. Or if we're currently involved in the space, this also helps add weight, and ultimately it's social proof. We also introduce key people. So we'll talk about the key people, our side, who's going to be involved, emphasising their qualifications and experience. We'll then move on to the plan for the business. So what does the first 30, 90 days, first year look like, and then longer term. And really it's a message of reassurance. It's business as usual for staff, customers and staff. We talk through with the seller, being involved in a handover period for probably a 6 to 12 month period. If they're rolling over equity, we'll talk about governance, shareholders agreements, etc. And ultimately what we're trying to do here is position ourselves as a facilitator, that we back management teams. So we'll bring the tools, the resources, and most importantly, the capital to the table. We're not here to suddenly, rip up what they've created. So we're not going to change the name. We're not going to fire the staff. And if there are key people in management that we've identified, we can consider letting them have a stake in the business too, which also helps. Once we've covered these two parts, who we are, our track record, social proof, plans for the business, etc., we reach the crescendo of the financial components of the deal. So we'll start by showing them what figures we've used, so what assumptions we've made, what normalization or add backs have been considered and factored in. And this then helps justify the transaction. It's essentially using logic, and really what we're trying to do is ensure that there's alignment on the numbers that we're using in the formula in the deal structure. We'll walk through the legal structure. So we always use an SPV to acquire the company, the shares of the company. That's essentially a special purpose vehicle, a private limited company in the country in which we're doing the deal, which we ultimately own, and that becomes the buyer of the shares of the company. We'll then explain the deal structure. So, what the initial consideration is, how it's funded. If there's deferred or seller financing, we're explaining how future cash flows fund this. And this means that we can show that it's affordable and viable. A company making $1 million a year, for example, in EBITDA, with a seller note worth 3 million could be paid comfortably over a 4 or 5 year period, but not over 1 year, as there just isn't the cash flow there. So even if you're able to improve the profits, we typically don't base deals based on future forecasts. It's really, we're buying the business here and now, so we'll use the current numbers. We then present this in a payout table together with the debt service coverage, so we can sort of show the affordability and the viability and how we've sort of structured the deal over the timescale. We'll then get to the summary section, where we essentially just sort of summarize the transaction. We'll talk through what the next steps would be, which essentially will be moving to a term sheet. A term sheet is what I call the sort of roadmap that you lock in the key components of the deal and you hand over to the lawyers to draw up the relevant contracts. And we then sort of walk them through what happens after that. So due diligence, financials, funding, typical timescales, etc. We do prepare a term sheet in anticipation of that offer meeting going positively, so that if it does go well, we can present the term sheet to them, and I'll record the next video on a sort of walkthrough of the term sheet. We'll close them for a time frame for feedback. I mean, most of the time they won't say yes or no at that meeting, and usually they want a week or so to, consider and then enter into negotiations. But we do make it really clear that nothing's going to change materially. So, whilst there's always areas that we can compromise on and tweak, fundamentally the deal and the structure isn't going to change fundamentally. So, maybe we could do a bit better with the upfront. Maybe we could shorten the deferred a little bit. Maybe we can add interest to the deferred to sweeten the deal. Maybe we can leave them with some equity in the deal. So, when we go on our buy and build strategy and ultimately we create our own exit in years to come, that equity hopefully is going to be worth more to them. And of course, we could negotiate their remuneration for the handover period post completion, but fundamentally, nothing's going to be materially different. So in summary, I would say it's really vital that you demonstrate your track record and your expertise, what type of buyer you are, as much as the financial components of the transaction. And if you've never done a deal before, my advice would be really to partner with somebody that has, so that you can position yourself as a facilitator of that deal. You can end up with a percentage of that deal. And essentially you're borrowing somebody else's credibility and track record. And then maybe when you've done a deal with them 2 or 3 times over, you then got your own credibility, track record, case study, social proof that you can point to if you want to go off and do deals on your own. So if you've liked this video, give it the thumbs up. It really helps the channel. If you'd like to be notified when the next video comes out, then hit subscribe. And if you're interested to learn more about mergers and acquisitions and connect with me directly, as well as hundreds of deal makers around the world, you can join our free community. The link is in the description below. For now, happy deal making.